What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Ghostrick deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is scary consistent and super fun to be able to play with. I have all sorts of really spooky tech cards in this deck for you guys, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be laying 2 copies of Ghostrick Siren, which is a really good 2 of in the deck. This card is actually a searcher, but all of your Ghostrick monsters have a common effect, that they cannot be normal summoned unless you control another Ghostrick monster. And then once per turn, during your main phase, you can change this card into face down defense position, which is a really awesome effect that they can all basically flip themselves back face down, which is just super good. Now this card's unique effect is if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, you send 2 cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. Then, if either of them were Ghostrick cards, you can apply one of these effects to add 1 Ghostrick spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, or change 1 effect monster that your opponent controls to face down defense position, which is a really good effect. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Jiangshi. Jiangshi is a really good searcher for the deck that when this card is flipped face up, depending on the amount of Ghostrick monsters you have on your field, depends on the level of the Ghostrick monster that you can search when this card is flipped face up, which is really cool. For example, if you have 3 Ghostrick monsters face up when you flip this card face up, this card being the 4th Ghostrick monster, you can actually search out a copy of Siren, which is really cool. But this card is a great searcher for the deck. We then play a single copy of Ghostrick Mummy. Ghostrick Mummy is a really good 1 of the deck. This card gives you an additional normal summon, which is really nice in this deck to be able to let you go in for all sorts of different XZ plays. I then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Fairy. Ghostrick Fairy is a really good 2 of in the deck. It's just a fantastic card overall because it has the ability, just like all your other Ghostrick monsters, that once per turn you can change this card into face down defense position, but it has a really unique effect that when this card is flipped face up, you can target 1 Ghostrick card in your graveyard and set that target to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. And you can also change face up monsters that your opponent controls to face down defense position up to the number of set cards that you control, which is a really good effect to be basically a massive Book of Moon. I then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Doll. Ghostrick Doll is a really good 2 of in the deck. I only feel like you need 2 copies of this card, but it's a fantastic card in this particular deck. It has the ability, just like all your other Ghostrick monsters, that it cannot be normal summoned unless you control another Ghostrick monster. And then once per turn, you can change this card into face down defense position. But this card is a super unique effect that when this card is flipped face up during the end phase, you change as many face up monsters on the field as possible to face down defense position. Then you can special summon 1 Ghostrick monster from your deck in face down defense position whose level is less than or equal to the number of monsters flipped face down by this effect, which is a really awesome effect because even if we just flip down 1 or 2 monsters with this card, we'll be able to special summon out a Ghostrick monster. I then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Lantern. Ghostrick Lantern is a great card to protect you from getting OTK because this card has a really awesome effect that when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, or when a Ghostrick monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand in face down defense position, which is an awesome effect for this card to have. I then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Mary. Ghostrick Mary is a really good 3 of in the deck that has a really awesome effect that when you take damage, you can discard this card to special summon a Ghostrick monster from your deck in face down defense position, which helps out a lot just to get you additional Ghostricks on the field. I then play a single copy of Ghostrick Jack Frost. This card is just a good 1 of the deck, and I really like this card as a 1 of because when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can change that opponent's monster to face down defense position, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand in face down defense position, just basically being a extra copy of Lantern, which is just really nice. I then play a single copy of Ghostrick Spectre, which is actually my favorite Ghostrick of them all, and definitely comment down below what your favorite Ghostrick monster is. But this card is my favorite one because I love the art of this card. It has a really good effect that basically when a Ghostrick monster is destroyed by an opponent's card effect or by battle of an attacking monster and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand and face down defense, and then you get to draw a card, which is super good. I then play 3 copies of Parallel Izzy. Parallel Izzy is really good in the deck because we do have a Link 1, so this card helps us make rank 4 plays in the deck, and it's just really easy to summon this card out to your side of the field because we do have that Link 1. This card is super good because if you Link summon a monster, you can special summon this card to your side of the field to a zone that monster points to, and then special summon an additional Parallel Izzy from your deck to your side of the field. They'll both become level 4, and they'll both have their attack and defense points halved, which is not that big of a deal because we're basically just trying to summon them to our side of the field so that we can go in for an XZ play. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Ghostrick Mansion. Ghostrick Mansion is a really good 2-of in the deck. It has a really good effect that monsters cannot attack face-down monsters, but can attack directly if all monsters their opponent controls are face down in defense position. And all effect damage and battle damage inflicted by monsters other than Ghostrick monsters is halved, which is really good for us because if our opponent's not playing Ghostricks, we're taking half damage, but our opponent will take full damage. We then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Parade. Ghostrick Parade is a really awesome field spell for this deck and just a really good searcher overall. This is the one you want to put on the field when you're getting set up for all of your plays because monsters cannot attack face down defense position monsters but can attack directly if all monsters their opponent controls are in face down defense position, and your opponent takes no damage and when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can add a Ghostrick card from your deck to your hand, which is super good in the deck. I feel like 2 and 2 is the best way to play this right now because you have a lot of ways to get to these field spells, and they're really good in certain situations to be able to search out cards from the deck and then go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Ghostrick Shot. This card is absolutely insane. I love this card. It's basically a monster reborn that lets you special summon a Ghostrick monster from your hand or grave and then change one face down defense position Ghostrick monster you control to face up attack position, which is a great effect just to be able to flip up one of your Ghostrick monsters and resolve their effects. And also the ability that you can manage this card from your graveyard and target a Ghostrick XZ monster you control and attach a Ghostrick card from your graveyard to that monster as a material, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. But this card is a great 3-of that you always want to see and search off your copy of Angel of Mischief. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Ghostrick Knight. This is one of my favorite Ghostrick cards in the entire game because it's just so powerful, because when a Ghostrick monster is on the field, your opponent cannot flip summon monsters. Basically, when you flip your opponent's monsters face down while you have a Ghostrick monster on the field, they stay face down, which is really good for us. We then play a single copy of Ghostrick Renovation. Renovation is a good 1-of in the deck. It lets you target a Ghostrick field spell in your field spell zone and return it back to your hand, and then you can activate a field spell from your hand or deck, which basically lets you tag out your field spells, which is really good. I then play 2 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is just insanely good because we're playing some absolutely insane tech cards in this build that we play as 2-ofs, so this card is a really good 2-of in the deck to help us get to a bunch of different trap cards. I'm then playing 2 copies of Ghostrick Retreat. Ghostrick Retreat is a good 2-of in the deck that basically has the ability that if you control a Ghostrick field spell or a Ghostrick Link monster, then you can target a face-up monster that your opponent controls. Your opponent can pay 2,000 life points to make this effect to set this card instead of sending it to the graveyard after activation. Otherwise, if they don't pay the 2,000 life points for the rest of the turn, that face-up monster cannot attack and its effects are negated. Also, it's changed to face-down defense position during the end phase, which is a super good effect. This card is really good if you're going first to set to your side of the field to just deal with your opponent's monsters. We then play 2 copies of Needle Sealing. Needle Sealing is really good, especially with how many cards we're going to be having face down, because you can only activate this card if there are 4 or more monsters on the field. You destroy all face-up monsters on the field, which is really good because we're going to have all of our monsters face down, and we can get rid of our opponent's monsters, which is super good. I then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Scare. Ghostrick Scare is a really good 2-of, especially with Trap Trick in the deck. I feel like 2 is totally fine. You target any number of face-down defense position monsters that you control, change them to face-up defense position, and then count the number of Ghostrick monsters among them. And if you do, change face-up monsters that your opponent controls to face-down defense position, which is really, really good. I love this card, and it's just super good to have in the deck because it's just really good to be able to change all those monsters to face-down defense. I then play 3 copies of Karma Cannon. Karma Cannon is a really good support card that we got out of Darkwing Blast. I love this card, especially in this deck. It's super powerful because it has the ability to change up, face up, change as many monsters on the field that's face up to face down defense position. Then if any player controls a face up monster, they must send them to the graveyard, which basically just outs link cards. But this card is really good to just disrupt the opponent and flip their cards face down, especially combo with cards like Ghostrick Knight to make sure that your opponent's going to have their cards stay face down, which is really, really good. If they don't go face down, they just go to the graveyard, which is really powerful. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Ghostrick Alucard. Ghostrick Alucard is a really good 2-of in the deck and just a fantastic card overall that your opponent cannot target other Ghostrick monsters or any face-down defensive monsters for attacks, which is really good. And also has the ability you can detach a material from this card and then target a set card your opponent controls and destroy that target. And it also has the ability you can only use the effect that card once per turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can target one other Ghostrick card in your graveyard and add that card back to your hand, which is a super good effect. We then play a single copy of So Cute Boss. So Cute Boss is a really good one of. You only really need a single copy of this card. We don't go into it all that often, but it's a really good one of in the deck. And then play 2 copies of Dullahan. Dullahan is fantastic in this deck, and you want to play 2 copies of this card because it's so good. This card gains 200 attack for each Ghostrick card that you control, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card and then target one face-up monster on the field and half its attack until the end of the turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can target one other Ghostrick card in your graveyard and add that target back to your hand, just like your copy of Alucard, which is really good. We then play 2 copies of Angel of Mischief. Angel of Mischief is a really good searcher because you can overlay this on top of any other Ghostrick XZ monster like Dullahan, So Cute Boss, and even your copy of Alucard, which is really good. And you can also detach a material in this card to search any Ghostrick spell or trap card from your deck, which is absolutely insane. I then play a single copy of Assembled Nightingale. This is basically in the deck so that we can attack directly and go in for a copy of AA Zeus. I'm just playing a single copy of this card because we're just using this card to go into Zeus. 1 copy of Downer Magician. Downer Magician is really good because you can give a monster an additional material to go in for your copy of Zeus by making this on main phase 2 by using any of these monsters except for Angel Mischief, which is really good. I then play a single copy of Baguska because we can make Baguska, so this card is a really good one of in the deck. You make it with your copies of Paralog Z to basically have a skill drain, which is really nice, and shift monsters into defense position. So this card is a really good one of. And then play a single copy of AA Zeus. AA Zeus is just fantastic in any XZ deck just to be able to board wipe. So this card is a definite one of in this deck. And then playing a single copy of Utopic Future so that we can go into our copy of Draco Future, which is just really good and really easy to go into this deck because all you basically have to do is make any of your Ghostrick monsters that are XZs, make a copy of Angel Mischief, detach the XZ that you have on that monster, and search Ghostrick Shot, and then revive the one that you detach to make a second copy of Angel Mischief on top of the other XZ monster that you just brought back with Ghostrick Shot, and then overlay your 2 copies of Angel Mischief into F-Zero and then Utopic Draco Future, which is really easy to do just off of any 2 level 1s, any 2 level 2s, or any 2 level 3s that you can put on your side of the field. I then play 2 copies of Ghostrick Festival. I feel like 2 is totally fine with this card, and it's absolutely insane because you can use face down Ghostrick monsters to XZ summon this card, which is really good. And then when a Ghostrick card is on the field spell zone, your Ghostrick monsters can attack directly. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can tribute this card, especially when a Ghostrick monster from your deck can face down defense position, which is a great effect to be able to dodge being OTK because this card does have 0 attack points. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super good. If you guys have never played with Ghostrick, you definitely should. It is really spooky how consistent this deck is, and it's really fun to be able to just lay a bunch of Ghostrick cards face down and your opponent have to deal with all the absolutely insane card effects. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.